okay? I love that song. And this month, we are continuing the Unity 12 Powers. The month of August is about the power of will. And I was listening to your song, I was thinking, did that seed have a will, right? And there was a phrase in there too, that a heart afraid of breaking doesn't dance or is too afraid to dance. And we're going to be talking about that, the dance of wills, the dance of wills. How many of you saw Debbie's email yesterday reminding us about today's service? And did you happen to notice the video that was in there? There was a video from Unity about the power of will, and you might want to go look at that later. But in there was an affirmation that I want to share with you. It's, I use my power of will to commit, to choose, and to be willing. To commit, to choose, and to be willing. So just keep that in mind as we share, as we explore the power of will. You know, how many of you know someone, or maybe even yourself, that he says, a good prayer ends with, not thy will, but yours, or ends with the phrase, thy will be done. Right? Where does that come from? It comes from, there are a couple of different places I've found in the Bible, right? One is the Lord's Prayer, right? That phrase is there. The other one is in the story that Luke tells in the Bible of after the Last Supper, the disciples and Jesus are up on the Mount of Olives, and Jesus knows what's coming next, and he says, Father, if you are willing, take thy cup from me. Yet not my will, but your will be done. You can contemplate that phrase. And in that phrase, I hear my will and your will as two separate things. And therefore the dance, which is another reason I loved your song, Julie and John, right? That dance between the bigger will and our will. And, what are these aspects of the divine will? What is divine will? In Unity, we say, and so it is. Right? We already said it a couple times today, and so it is. In that one, I don't hear any separation. I hear we're already standing in our divine nature and our divine consciousness, and we're declaring, and so it is. That's how it strikes me when I say that, and I hear others saying it. So again, whether we're in our divine consciousness, like we were in meditation just a few moments ago, or whether maybe we're perceiving of a separation, like my will and thy will. What is this divine will? Well, in Unity, there is a very prolific pastor or minister and also author. His name is Eric Butterworth. And if you go to unity.net, you can see all kinds of his lectures. You can listen to his audio of his speeches and his talks. And so prolific. This is what he had to say about that. He said, the will of God is the ceaseless longing of the Creator to fulfill himself in and as that which he has created. This will or creative intention is so great that it even seeps through one's willfully closed mind. Willfully closed mind. Divine will is the purpose, design, and intent for absolute good for humans and all creation. So that's one way to think about divine will. Well, what about our own will? What about our personal will, our personality will? I think you started out in saying, or maybe our small will, our tiny will, relative to spirit. Well, we're endowed with the inalienable right to choose. Our will trumps divine will. We're an expression of the divine. We can choose not to express it. We can willfully close our minds or close our hearts and not listen. I know that's happened to me. I'm like, really? Is that really what I'm supposed to do? No, I don't think so. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I'll do that. But what is our will? Our little will is that personality will, our willpower. So it's the willpower not to eat the chocolate, right? It's the willpower to choose a heart at peace, like we talked about last month. It's the will to choose to take care of our own bodies, to take care of our families, to take care of our communities. That's our will at work. And we can exercise that will, we can strengthen that will. You know, remember Einstein said, he said, genius, so he said, some people say he said, genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That's that personal will at work, that personality will. It's our, as it says in the affirmation, it's our will to choose. It's our will to commit. But we're more than our personalities, right? We're much more than our personalities. So where does divine will come in? You know, what's that relationship? So I like to think of it as that we have our small self, our personality self, and we have a transpersonal self, something that goes beyond our individual personality. And in many faith traditions, that transpersonal concept of self is called the soul. So it's called the soul in Christianity, it's called the soul in unity, it's called the soul in Judaism. Even in Taoism, there's a soul. Now Buddhism doesn't have that concept. But I think it's a useful idea, it's a useful concept, because it helps me understand a version of my spiritual anatomy that has the divine, my soul, and I like to use the chakra system, you know, where you have energy centers. If you do yoga, you might be familiar with that. I think of the energy of the soul as like something up here somewhere, like where my halo is, right? So the divine, my soul, and my body. The divine being that I am presence. My soul in unity is defined as my consciousness and my subconscious. My conscious and subconscious is my soul. And then my body, which is the soul expressing. And that's where my personal will is here. And the body and my soul. And the soul is where the divine and my body meet. It's that meeting ground. It's the dancing ground. Again, part of your song, it was like so perfectly picked. In Hinduism, the soul is called Atman. And so whether it's something that you find useful as thinking about your spiritual anatomy or not, I just wanted to share the thought with you that this idea of a soul and this soul-driven life would be a life that's being informed by this dance of the divine and the body, the divine, the soul, and the body. But this dance isn't always easy, right? It's not always easy to like do the right thing. Do what you know is the right thing, but it's inconvenient or it's hard or might be costly, might be risky. You might not want to surrender to this idea of really doing what you know is your soul is calling you to do, or that you know is the right thing to do, or what you've been called to do, doing it and putting into action through your personal soul, your body, which is expressing the divine in your soul. It's not always easy. You know, I ask myself, how do I know if this is my will or divine will? How do I know? Will I really be okay if I surrender? I actually like the word entrust better than surrender. Will I really be okay if that happens? And when do I take control versus the divine being in control? Remember that song from a few years ago, probably a decade or more? It's a country song, Jesus Take the Wheel. It was a hit song for a long time. I think of that image once in a while. And I ask, am I willing to align my personal will and the divine will? Am I willing? So let me tell you, join me in this story. So the dance of wills, the dance of our will is part of our journey, our spiritual journey. We can think of it as our soul's journey. I like to think that I'm here on Earth School and I'm learning, and my soul and my body and dancing with the divine are learning as I go along. But in unity, we're told that through our spiritual journey, each and every one of us can reach the level of a master, right? It's accessible to us. I'm sure some people in the room right now have already achieved this level of consciousness. I aspire to this level of consciousness, but join me, and you might want to just close your eyes as I describe what this level of consciousness is like. And this is actually coming from a unity book called Holy Spirit Regeneration by Debbie Tyson. So I just adapted it. So I wanted to give you the feeling of in this dance with divine will and personal will, what would it feel like if I were already a master? So I invite you to close your eyes and imagine with me. Your soul has been purified, and all sense of separation has been healed. Fear does not exist in you as a master. Therefore, there's nothing to fear with the unfolding of the divine will for absolute good. As a master, you've become completely self-realized or actualized, and you're living in the consciousness of grace. I am is in control from your understanding of I am the presence. You are on a mission, bringing divine will into manifestation. You co-create through the power of your word from the consciousness of let there be, and thank you, divine. You only create when instructed from within. Desire and manifestation are one and the same, and miracles are an everyday occurrence because there is no time, no space, no sense of separation or concept of lack in your consciousness. All is available and present right now. Please take a breath and open your eyes. Join me again. How did that feel, imagining yourself as a master, having already achieved a master level of consciousness? Can you imagine achieving that? Or did it already feel familiar? I think we all have at least parts of our experience already in that consciousness. So wouldn't it be great to be able to stay there all the time? Wouldn't that be great? Where that divine will and our will are aligned, dancing together, and for the absolute good of all creation. So, what's something we can do to actually become a master more often? How can we get there more often? We know meditation is a really important tool. We know prayer is a really important tool. And again, Eric Butterworth has a program called Practical Metaphysics, and it's online. It's a text, like a correspondence program. And there's a whole thing about prayer. So I'm going to channel Eric Butterworth, and I loved what he said on one of these, and I'm just going to walk you through it. And maybe it's something that you can choose to do more often to feel that master level of consciousness. Now, the key here is this has nothing to do with praying for something or praying to something or praying for anybody, including yourself. That's not what this is. This isn't about praying about something. This is just simply getting in tune. And this isn't doing something. In fact, if you have to think about what are the instructions of what am I supposed to do, you're in doing mode, and this is about being. This is about being in tune. So you don't have to close your eyes for this, but you can if you like. And this is hopefully a practice that you might want to experience more often. So what we're doing together is not doing. We're not doing anything. We're just being still. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and be still. Be still. Be still. Like you're settling down into a silent, very safe well. And the deeper you go into the well, the less concerned you are about doing things, saying things, being something, articulating something. You just feel a sense of oneness and feel that sense of the universe supporting you. And just rest in it quietly, being still in the silence of the deep, safe well. If you want to visualize something, you can picture a stick figure of a person with some soft lines coming into them from all sides. And this would be the universe streaming into you from all sides while you just sit quiet and still. opening your consciousness to the inflow of the omnipresent, all-knowing mind. As you can sense, this is not doing. This is not something you have to do. It's not reaching the divine. The divine is love in you already. Just be still and let it happen. Now that you've had a taste of what this could feel like, to just get in tune with the divine, know that this is a practice you can use to tune into divine will and discern the difference between your will and the divine will. Discern the dance. Blossom like the seed in the song that becomes a rose. You don't have to do anything. Just be still. Open your eyes. Welcome back. Is this something that you'd like to practice more often? Was this hard? Was it hard to do? Hopefully not, because it wasn't doing anything, right? So if there's a great resource, if you're interested in this kind of an unpractice, I'll call it, and that's on truthunity.net under prayer, you can find it. And you can hear him walking you through something similar. So this dance of the divine will and our personal will, I think, is the journey of life. It is our soul's work, right? It is the work of becoming in tune, the work of taking action, the work of discerning what actions to take. I loved last month's theme, choosing a heart at peace, where you recognize the things in your subconscious or old behavior patterns that you don't even realize are in the way here, in the way between the divine and your body and your expression of the divine, or your soul, if you want to use that concept. So this is just an introduction. There's more to August. So there's more Power of Will talks that Victoria will be doing, Reverend Victoria. So I just want to give you a flavor here. So we've explored the power of will. We've explored divine will, that absolute good, that intent and purpose for absolute good for all creation. We've talked about our own personal will. We explored the spiritual anatomy of divine and soul and body. We've talked about the dance of the personal and divine will on our spiritual journey, and got a taste of what it feels like to become a master more often in our regular daily life. And we shared a practice that you could tune into, an unpractice that you can tune into to get there more often and practice that dance. To end, I'd like to leave you with that affirmation from the video. And you can watch this video, it's in your email. Let me say it, and then we'll say it together. Let me say it first. I use my power of will to choose, to commit, and to be willing. So say it with me. I use my power of will to commit, to choose, and to be willing. I think I messed that up, but thank you. Maybe.